Hi, it's Saturday, October 11th, 2025, 11:10 a.m. in Duluth, Minnesota. And I thought I would do a little documentation, try to keep it as short as possible, probably 30 minutes. I just wanted to document some of the things that are happening, cyber torture. One of the things, first off, they're just in my devices. When I click on photographs, so yesterday, if I was trying to take a picture of photographs, they were all blurry. All blurry. Not today. That's interesting. Not today. And they keep my storage full, so I can't post off. I'm using like 3 or 4 different devices. They were keeping. Here, I'll show you. There's 1,300 emails in there, and let's see if they'll let me erase them. Oh, they'll let me erase them today. So yesterday I wasn't even able to erase them. I don't even look at them. I just trashed them all. So I can't record. So say if I'm out in public and want to document something, it'll say storage is full. I wasn't even able to use my my music. I wanted to try and listen to my playlist, and then it would say that not enough disk space. So I guess that changes from minute to minute. Actually, now that I have this out, we'll just quick show you my big data IP tools, which is interesting. Here's my geolocation this morning, or right now. I'm just checking it out. It's in Minnesota, here in Duluth, but it'll be over at my neighbors. So what interesting too is the fact that this confidence area changes. It actually has is longer down Highway 53. It was kind of more a little bit shorter. But anyway, here it is at my house, reported estimated location. This is the man right here that has the Minnesota commercial cellular tower on his property. And again, this confidence area changes. Looks like it just goes to the outer boundaries of the Fond du Lac Indian Reservation there up in Cloquet, Minnesota. It's on the other side of the Brule, Wisconsin, Lake Nebagaman. I have a lot of perpetrators in this area over here and down past here. But that can change, and I'll quick see if I have a picture to show you that. Here's my IPv4 mapper. You can see that my IP changes. Look at that, 107. Here it's 23. And I guess that's here 23 still. Here's 166. It should be 75 something. I'm at the top. Okay. So my IPv4 mapper, again, I'm using different cell phones, and they're different. I can probably show you this one. Okay, so here I am. And this one doesn't let me like click on one and then, a map will come up and I can go to the exact location. So here I know it's somebody on Hagberg Street. I'd have to go on Google Maps to figure out what that is. And I can't document that from here. Whereas my other device does let me do that. So there is a neighbor, the man in the middle. Here's my next door neighbor. It's going to his garage on October 2nd there. Here's my house. See, the green one is a live one right now. There we go. Yep, it's the 11th today. So that came in at, 11:12 a.m. And you can see that anywhere I go, I'm and not necessarily even where I go. So here I am up at the cabin. Here's the cabin on the lake. So people come on the lake in their boats. I'm sitting on the dock or swimming. Look at all of the beacons that are coming into the cabin. And there's only 12 properties on this lake, on this cabin, on this lake. 12 properties. And we don't even have Wi-Fi at this cabin. And look at all of the nodes. I was just up there on the weekend of the 28th. September 28th. Look at all the beacons. And then it goes way up north. I was never way up here. So it's look at all of these beacons. It came way up here. Way up by the, what is that? Can you see that? Split Rock River. Say what lake that is or what that is. So anyhow, and then, you know, Two Harbors follows me wherever I go. Let's see if I have a picture of, see, so here the confidence area changed. Goes to the, there's a military base at the end of, I believe, Puerto Rico here. Probably up at the tip of Alaska. You know, nonstop aerial harassment. Research on people. There's the military circling my house. That was a rivet, a Boeing rivet, which I think their, you know, their job is like telecommunication or surveillance. I think right before that, earlier that day, I had a Lockheed Martin buzzing by. But anyhow, yeah, here I'm up at the lake. Here I was up at the lake, and here's a couple drones I had in the morning going out to the outhouse, and I was getting hit with direct energy weapons while I was at the lake. Caught a fish. Drones. Even up at the lake, you know, I endure Zerzetzung. I woke up, I had my swimsuit on the clothesline, and there was a big gash in it in the morning, and it also had been altered. You can see how they sewed up the band, you know, underneath your breast line there, tighter, and that's something I endure all the time. It's pretty awful stuff. They overinflated my little floaty thing to the point where I was kind of afraid to sit on it because I thought it might explode. So what is that? Must have been tracing some IPs that were coming in. Getting hit with direct energy weapons. While I was up at the cabin, actually my IP was sitting in Minneapolis. Well, this was a different day. It was way down by Rhinelander, Wisconsin. So here I'm reported location, estimated location was way down by Rhinelander, Wisconsin. Right by this lake here. The whole time I was at the cabin, it was actually in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which was about 200 miles away. Okay, well, I just wanted to mainly document some of the direct energy weapon hits that I've been enduring here. So, this was yesterday, I believe. Was this one yesterday? And I guess a lot of times I have the music on in the background, and then, you know, YouTube won't let me post it. So there's yesterday at 11:19 a.m. They always seem to like to whack my back, burn my back, whip my back like a slave. pretty ugly. They burn pretty deep into your skin. You know, they hurt. So that was yesterday. And then just a little bit later, a few more whacks kind of under my arm and towards my breasts there. They hurt. I'm going, ow, ow, ow. So those. Oh, no, here's, you know, the weaponized telecommunications system. So all these people in my community and all over the United States, actually, this is happening to lots of different people. Here it's coming from my neighbor around the corner, and I investigated them. Off the top of my head, I just know that they're a young couple and they're registered foster parents. So, you know, they're serial killers and they're making money off the oppression and torture of my family. There's my house. And it's, see, this UMTS is lethal radio frequency. It damages your cellular structure. You know, here's one. This is, I think, just taken this morning from my neighbor that has the commercial cellular tower. And, you know, there's just untold numbers of them in my environment. So I'm also using this older, this was the first Android device that I bought when I started doing the network applications, and it's not running to full capacity, but it's interesting because it runs differently than like the one I'm on right now. So I can't show you the evidence that this one's gathering. That's why I did take some screenshots and put them on my iPad. But you know, it's all relevant. So it's interesting because the one that I'm on right now shows more of the Verizon that's coming in and not the AT&T. And this one shows the AT&T, but it only shows, you know, like right now it's saying that, you know, there's 996 networks, but my one that's in my hand right now, you know, is roughly, I think, you know, 2,400 right now is in my environment. So, but look at all the AT&Ts that are in there, and you know, and they won't all show, but so that's the one that just came from the foster family around the corner. Foster parent family, human trafficking scumbags. And, you know, and there's a lot more hidden in there. So look at that. That's already 3. Is that another one? That's 4. Is that a different one? So you can see the numbers change. You know, somebody's Happy Hippo 5G. You know, this should be considered attempted murder. It is attempted murder. So, you know, the 239 networks, more AT&T. Orbeez are Wi-Fi extenders. You know, I don't know what a Tozo Tonal Dots is. I hardly leave this room. There's the Witts family that live, you know, across the way. They're serial killers. They're just a young couple that live across the street and a couple houses over. You know, he's listed at like being, you know, works at Starbucks or something, and they just bought a $350,000 home. And they're in my network all the time. They're in my environment. And this, another thing, this Ellie Bose is back, you know, AT&T again, I'll show you. He's a serial killer, and it doesn't show me where one time it showed where it had like a da-da-da-da-da, and it went over to one of these assisted living facilities. I'm surrounded by these assisted living facilities. You know, I've got all of these odd network devices coming in my environment. You know, I don't even know how to say that. Huey Technologies. But I can quick show you how this You know, a lot of these are regulars. This is a regular, and I actually think that that might be coming from the guy with the commercial cellular tower. Sometimes they show me where they're originating from, and sometimes they don't. But this Bose, so the Bose system is back strong. It's pulsing. It's probably some sort of an infrasound. Seeing it's the Bose Corporation, and it's nonstop. See, there it is again, coming in at what, 6 o'clock, 6:09 a.m. Here it is again at 5:49 a.m. Here it is at 5:29 a.m. And it just goes on again. See it, so it's the same one. This one says Ellie Bose, 5:09 a.m. again, and on it goes. So this device actually shows, I've been doing an investigation on all, you know, I just again have, you know, like this one, I'll have to investigate this, what is this Mediacin company at 2:41 a.m. I'm sleeping, and how is this device coming in my environment at 2:41 a.m. It could possibly be a drone. You know, I have drones, you know, every day. I just documented some drones this morning, and I'll probably post those if you're paying attention to the Bose as they're going by. See, what time was that? 1:09 a.m. So, you know, this is attempted murder that the United States of America is allowing to happen to citizens in the United States of America. You know, groups of people are targeting, torturing, trafficking for a living in the United States of America. So, again, you know, I'm just getting bombarded. I can't even remember if I just showed you the direct energy weapon hits. Here's just a few screenshots I took. So these are on the phone that I'm recording off of right now. Look at, I'm already at 17 minutes. That's what my environment looks like. You know, these are some of the applications I'm using to detect this. This is called Net Monster. So, you know, I can't even keep up with the work. And I keep logbooks, and I try to document and investigate each one of these people that are coming in with these. They're mobile ISMI, lethal UMTS mobile towers is what they are. How much are they making off of these towers? Who distributes these towers? Do they pay for them? How do they get these towers? And how much tax-free money are they making off of my person, my family? And then, you know, the red Vox. And I have, you know, I've got a stack in my closet, you know, that are already, you know, full, you know, research, and one for every application that I use, you know, Wiggle. You know, I'll give you an example here. So, you know, as you can see, there are just untold numbers of them coming in, but some of these odd-headed ones with these odd, you know, headings that, you know, a lot of them are just blank, but when they say something like, what is that, Sterling Energy Systems, you know, I'll try to investigate as many of these as I can, but, you know, it's just, I could do this 24/7 and never catch up. So here's an example of one. Anacom Inc. came into my environment. I'm not sure if I wrote down what time it was, but they're out of San Jose, California. And I was able to see that there was only one global match for this device. And it was DigitalOcean, so Korea, and going to Germany, Frankfurt, Maine. So they're biohacking my data and selling it, trafficking it to Germany, Frankfurt, Maine, and DigitalOcean. So, you know, here's one that came in. It's called what? Exons Development, and they were Finland, and they were a research product development manufacturer for embedded device systems. So, this is what I'm dealing with, doing some investigative work there. And here's again, I've got these mobile devices. This guy is the regular one, and this is just, a couple blocks away. And come to find out, they're from my hometown. I live in Duluth, Minnesota, and I was born and raised. I spent the first half of my life in Superior, Wisconsin, which is just across the bridge. And, that's where they're from. And, I can find out, just Googling that address, a huge amount of information. And it's pretty awful stuff. A lot of these people are law enforcement, business owners, people that go back to my childhood, my mother's friends. Look at this. I've got them coming in from, here's Colton, California. I have them coming in as far as California, Arizona, New York, Tennessee, Alabama, And again, that one is this one right here, Net Monitor. So here, this is the 2408 Asbury. And then I pay extra to have an extended feature with the cell tower search. So right now these cell towers are on. It tells me, so one's what, Verizon. So there's Verizon, a T-Mobile, and an AT&T. They're all in there. And this is what they look like. These are mobile cell towers. I live, just pretty much right in about the center of this area. These are all coming from people's houses, and I believe that, my city owns some of them that are just in the middle of, open area, biking trails and parks and stuff just along the freeway. And, they're UMTS. UMTS is a hazardous, lethal radio frequency. It damages your health. It damages your cellular structure. You can research UMTS. And, I'm being bombarded with them from, all over the United States, all across Minnesota. They're coming into my environment. So here's what my wiggle looks like as the devices are coming in my environment. This, I believe that they've got something in my little Bluetooth speaker, because anytime I turn on this Bluetooth speaker, I had gotten a load of firewood last night and had the little Bluetooth speaker on outside as I was stacking the wood in my garage. Somebody hacks into it, this and my cell phone, because I, have it hooked up to the Bluetooth to my cell phone for music. And it comes from, here, the beacon came from here, 2980 West Lookout Road. And that's about, this far away. So they were also not even only just there, but they had beacons coming up into my cabin when I was up there. So it's what, 30, well, my cabin, or I'm not sure, but 34 minutes away, 23 miles away. And there's my cabin. So there were nodes hitting me at the cabin. I believe like these two were maybe like people sitting on the lake in boats trying to triangulate me. So here's a picture of yesterday when I was trying to, this is what my camera was looking like on my my Apple cell phone that I tried to use. There's that Witz family, they're regulars. They make a living off of my family. So this is what my environment looks like. And most of these people I found out that are all surrounding me are related, connected, have been put throughout my life. I could tell you stories about, most of them, not all of them, how they're connected. Like I believe that these people are related to my husband. Some of these are assisted living. Some of them are law enforcement. Some of them are from the 148th Fighter Wing. One of my neighbors up there is from Argentina, their family is Alvarez. They hail from Argentina. The daycare lady that pretended to be my friends. A lot of these people we had sleepovers with our children. I've lived here for 25 years. They pretended to be my friend. It's just sick. There's a weaponized Verizon wireless coming in, my environment. Again, now I don't have this app anymore, but this was a visual tracer. There's Germany, Frankfurt right there. Germany's was always a regular. Here's one of them AT&Ts, bombarding my environment. And I have, untold numbers of them right now sitting in my environment, beaming this UMTS radio frequency in my environment. It's a slow kill mission. Death by 1,000 cuts. Here's some direct energy weapon hits to my arm. That was Thursday morning. Here they are, the beacons coming in from all over the world. This is an infrasound detector. So look at, they're coming in my environment from all over the world. That's what Singapore, that was a school in South Africa. That's the military United States Space Force, Royal Air Force Space Base off the coast of Africa on Essentia Island. That was a private residence in the United Kingdom. Actually, I think the white one there was a school that's coming in, a private school that's coming in from, it's called Riverdale in New York. Yeah, see, this is in Creole, South Africa, from a school. So, I've got these beacons coming in from all over the United States. Here I had to renew my driver's license in August, and I just got a letter stating that my information was not appropriate. They said that, so I used my marriage certificate and my property title, and they said that they weren't good enough. And it said it didn't have a seal. Well, if you really look, there is a seal on there. This is my certified copy. It says right here, certified copy of my marriage certificate, and they were telling me that it wasn't the certified copy. And I've had, the last time I think I went to renew my license, they literally changed my birth certificate. My first and middle name were not on my birth certificate, and it was supposedly the original copy. So after, I'm 63 years old, and all of a sudden I don't have my name on my birth certificate, and I've had a CDL since in the 90s. So, it's just nonstop fraud and chaos and criminality. And here I was documenting that, they cut my hair, they shave it, they cut it, they burn it, they dye it. I have brown hair, and look how blonde it is, but it's just awful. Look how they had recently just kind of bluntly cut it on part, but not on the other side. Non-stop aerial harassment. That was Eric Munson of the Lake Superior helicopters. Again, here's the Riverdale County School in New York coming in.
They shaved her eyebrows off, and they shaved the back, and then
I was listening to something there. I'm going to turn that off. So there it is, a whack to my back, and that was yesterday morning at 11:19 a.m. Excuse me. Those they burn deep into your skin. They're like almost like whip burns. I don't know how they do it, and they tend to hit the back, but as you've seen on the arm, it's not limited to just my back. It's always embarrassing locations: my back, my buttocks, my breast. And it went really far down. It really went low to my back. And it's hard to, I have to I prop up my iPad and then, try to record that way. You can see holding the camera. And it's embarrassing. These tattoos are gross. I regret them, but I believe they're all part of the playbook. They were all gift certificates, and I regret them. And then again, and they kept going. This was a little bit late, a few minutes later. And then a couple more hits there. That one really hurt bad. That burnt. I was going ow, ow, ow. And, towards my breast area there. And this is just yesterday too. I received another $47,743.78 medical bill. I've received over I'm heading over $2 million in medical fraud. And I called to try, I've spent hours on the phone with Cigna and the hospitals where the medical bills are coming from. And I called the Attorney General and the FBI, and, to report identity theft and medical fraud, only to just have them send a Lockheed Martin over my house the next day. It's pretty disgusting. I think I showed you this beam coming in the other day. What's this one? Oh, here, this is interesting. So here I got a new neighbor across the street, and nobody moves into my neighborhood anymore unless I know they're here to traffic me. I find them in my environment first thing, before they even unload. And here this was just Wednesday, and these trucks it was Alpha Electrical Company. And I'm not sure if they were just in the garage. They're pretty, pretty secretive. And, so I don't know, what kind of electrical work he would be having done, like that. They were 2 or 3 trucks there all day. And, that's frightening. It's frightening if you're in the situation that we're in. So I'm documenting that. And here's, the Zerzetzung. They come into your house, they knock you out, and they get to walk around your house. And this is my sofa blanket. They put a hole in it. I just painted this planter, not long ago, and they chip it, and they wreck your stuff. They destroyed my hot tub cover, and they put a chip in this stair. This cover was like pristine, and then all of a sudden it was trashed. Actually, I had, now that I'm talking about it, I had, some beautiful gazebos over it, 3 different ones, and they had all been taken down by supposed storms, but literally screwed into the deck, but literally like gone the next morning. And I didn't know that I was, a victim of this at that time when that happened. So now when I go in my hot tub, all my neighbors have their motion lights literally beaming at my hot tub. It's just awful. These people are sick. So you can't even enjoy your hot tub because your neighbors have these beaming lights at you when you're in there. And every year I like these vintage lawn chairs, and they destroy. I've had them destroy them every year I've ever had one. And here they cut this new little camp chair, and it's always this L shape that they do on a lot of stuff. And here I'm documenting my cutoffs. These are my favorite jean shorts. I wear them almost every day. I have very limited financial resource or clothes. And these were like down to my knee. These shorts were almost down to my knees. Can you see how short they cut my shorts? That's how short they have cut my shorts. It's just, yeah, nonstop. So that's either a beam from my neighbor, I'm assuming there. Could be a drone. Just nonstop. So that was Monday. Direct energy weapon hit again over to my breasts. I'm sure there's five beacons coming in from the United States Space Force, Royal Air Force station off the coast of Africa, Senja Island. There's their ID numbers. 4 from Playas, New Mexico Military Training Center. That's disgusting to know what's happening, that I'm waking to cut and burnt and dyed and shaven hair, and the military has their hands on it. Here they're actually cutting through my backyard. A couple F-16s. More direct energy burns. Sometimes they don't show up very well. It's just red right there, but they can hurt like buggers. So sometimes I'm wondering if they're perfecting you, hitting you with these without leaving any injuries. But that was pretty painful. Here I'm outside, got whacked underneath my arm there. That was Monday, 6 p.m. That hurt. Here's my, I think I was just documenting the moon. It's this one. These icky people. Aerial her stalking. I get a lot of aerial stalking. Oh, here's the F-16s. I got the F-16s today. This is at least the second time through my backyard. This is what happens when you go to sit outside too. So look at 5:53 p.m. 5:30 p.m. There's an X. 5:05 p.m. 5:05 p.m. Look at that. 3:08 p.m. 3:04. 3:03. Because 12:47 p.m. So look at that.
Well, I'm gonna let you go.
Let's see. They're whacking my back. Some of these might be on YouTube now. My new yard sign. I made a new yard sign. I'm pretty proud of it. It's pretty heavy duty. I did that myself. Went to Home Depot and bought a big 10-foot 4x4, and they were gracious to cut it for me. And I have a board behind that, and then I took little metal brackets and bent them up, and then I bought 2 of these whiteboards, and then I can just slide them in and slide them out. And got those great big heavy rocks around there, so I just want to get so I have 2 boards, so I can make a new one inside and then just come and slide that one out and slide the new one in. And I want to get some plexiglass to cover that, to protect it. And then I see they sell little solar lights for the top of those 4x4s. So that's my goal, to get those eventually. What else quick before I log off? There's my pajamas. I wake to holes in my pajamas. It's disgusting. These holes are right on your your nipples. And in all actuality, this is not even the original Victoria's Secret jammy. They switched it out for some big necked thing. If you looked at the Victoria's site, it was just a small V-neck. But, I deal with, altering, stealing, altering, exchanging my clothes, destroying them. And here they are, they're shaving off the corner of my head here. So the one side of my hair is super thin, and then it's all, look at that. It's just disgusting. So I was documenting that. Look at the my part, it's getting hit in the head with direct energy weapons. I've got I've got a gallon. I'm working on my second gallon jug of lost hair. And there's, it's just disgusting. So I'm documenting this all for history. Again, my environment, using these applications, all of these different community members coming in with these weaponized, monetized UMTS radio frequency beacons. It's human trafficking, it's attempted murder. And this is what's happening rampant across the United States. I've done some investigations now. I should call it quick. It's already 41 minutes. I'll wrap it up by showing you a little bit of documentation on my Twitter feed. There's my neighbor next door. He got I get Zerzetzung color anchor cars are maroon and blue. He's got the maroon car. And he parks under this tree that's been struck by lightning twice. They took down this one. This is going to be down soon. They took down this one, and then the one right next on the next tree over at the corner of the back of my house looks like worse than this. It was struck and taken down, but my wiggle war driving goes right over to this area. So he either has beacons in his car that help triangulate the whole thing to that tree. Yeah, it's disgusting. Here's my $400 dress my husband bought me. Now I know why, because they exchanged it for an ugly look-alike. More direct energy weapon burns. And a lot of times, I have the music on in the background. I have to remember not to, because YouTube won't let me post them when they have music in the background. Here's people coming into my network, doing a net stat. Sometimes just look at all of these people. These are all foreign addresses in my doing a net stat. And, it's hard. I had no computer skills when this all began. Let's see. Here's the ugly Zerzetzung one headlight missing tactic. I don't leave the house very much. Usually if I get something new, I have to document. And I don't even know why I bother. They still just alter my clothes. See, they've cut my hair up there by my hairline. They're always altering and exchanging my clothes. It's an awful, awful thing to live with. It's torture. It's torture. But anyway, okay, I'll just wrap it up by showing you a few things on my X feed. I got a lot of response from this last post, and if you haven't heard, Alex Jones had Jesse Beltran on, and that's huge. So they were talking about the fact that it's here it says, for years survivors of Havana syndrome, direct energy exposure, frequency targeting have been dismissed and silenced. This is huge. This is everything that I've been documenting, the non-consensual target. It was William Binney that said targeted individuals were being used with this network switches, and it was Bobby SHP in Canada that figured out the network switches was your ASN number. And so this was a post that I did right after Jesse was on Alex Jones, and this is what I said. Bill Binney and Dr. Catherine Horton, because she did a video on this on her. You can find her on YouTube on her channel, and she says Bill works as technical director of the NSA and hijacking of his programs for mass surveillance. And at 6:15 minutes in, she says, surveillance, it's not if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear, but can you or your family members be turned into a business plan? And I hashtag biohacking. So this is what it looks like when you've been non-consensually implanted. Bill Gates patented the technology, patent number W2020-060606, mining, the human body for cryptocurrency. And here's an article saying chromosome damage in human cells induced by the UMTS mobile telephone radiation. And, this is what they're using, this NSA created SHA 256 algorithm, which is for Bitcoin and blockchain transactions. So this is a picture of when I'm up at the cabin, and see how those beacons, and they just went with all these MAC addresses. They're human trafficking my biomedical data. So this is huge about the Alex Jones, Jesse Bean on Alex Jones. It's a validation of what's happening to targeted people if you're doing other work other than documenting the color anchor cars and the gang stalking, which is a huge I'm not it's a huge part of our oppression and torture, the gang stalking and the Zerzetzung tactics. Don't get me wrong. I would never, by God's grace, I found Bobby a couple years into my targeting, and it changed everything, because learning these applications, and even if you don't, it's been so helpful for me for the fact that I have the hidden mesh network in my environment. Here's some drones. I don't know if I put this one on yet or not, but this is almost the same thing of what this morning looked like. I had huge drone to the east and then one right above me. I'll put them on later. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around here now. But anyway, even if you don't have the mesh network in your environment, everybody's got these beacons, and I'll show you here in a couple more posts, how it correlates. So here like I was telling you earlier, I did an investigation on some of these odd looking ones, and this was just a Cisco systems that had come in my environment. Here's the Satcom Media Corporation that came into my environment. They are a global government wireless satellite equipment telecommunication distributor. That could have very well been a drone. 272 matches. And that's, not a lot. Probably they've, really. And here's this company that was a France video broadcasting platform. I just put the new green economy, biohacking, broadcasting this chit show and making bank. A whole new other meaning to the word Watchlist, surveillance, Truman Show, targeted individual, cyber torture, modernized, clandestine, MKUltra, 100 global matches. Here's a company called Current from Palo Alto. They are an AI energy usage data company intruding my environment. Only 11 global matches. Rio Telecommunication, they're from China. And it went to St. Louis, Missouri, and another company which was in Russia. Masks, it works in reverse. It masks in reverse to the University of California. A lot of people making their living off of this non-consensual research targeting torture profit, you know. And again, here's my whole community, my whole neighborhood. I had 2,546 wireless devices swamping my environment. There's that one with the neighbor. And then I always get tagged just by people off of on X, and you know, I just always, when they do that, I will try to do a post saying, you know, human code biohack, and Microsoft owns patent W202006, blah, blah, blah. Cryptocurrency using humans who have been shipped as the miners. I shit you not. John McAfee, he actually said that. That's his quote. I said data miners on X, coding in the background. Here's a Bosch access system invading my environment, intruding my environment. Here's a proximity fiber optics, Sweden. They were an FBG sensor measuring physical immunity to electromagnetic interference through wavelength encoded information. And then that same day, I had a beacon coming in on my infrasound detector from a Vispermin, Sweden. So right there. And here, so I had received another 165,000 in medical fraud this day. That was on the 6th of October. And I had beacons coming in from the cardiology department. I'm going to have to get that in a minute. I'll get back to her. I want to finish this up. In New York Hospital. And then usually this, I don't have one. And that day I had one coming from what looked like the medical facility at the Playas, New Mexico Military Training Center. And it's kind of frightening. I got some medical stuff going on, but I'm too afraid to even go seek medical attention. So I'm just going to skip to a couple more because I need to re-answer this phone call. But I just wanted to show you, I don't know if I showed this or not, but I have been doing some investigations of a few other targeted people and just some random researches. And here, this is a random research from people in Arizona, because I'm going through the alphabet, starting in the A's, and I just was going on the Wiggle map because I can see these. And I don't know these people from Adam, and they tied back to Minnesota. So yeah, here it is. Investigation 2 of the 6 that I picked in Arizona tied back to my same group here in Minnesota. And it's same thing happened with a couple of the people that I investigated that are targeted on YouTube. And I will just close it up by showing you. And I don't know if I already previously did that. Let me just quick show you that one. I did a little video on it. I don't know if I put it on YouTube here. I'm going to pay attention to, or I see his videos. Crying for help. He's suffering voice-to-skull technology, as well as my daughter here in Duluth, Minnesota. This is my house. This is the research I've been doing, finding a mesh network in my environment. These are all unsuspecting victims in the state of Minnesota, and these are examples from other states. My house. I just researched... he is stating that a sheriff, Millsap, from his county is responsible. In less than basically 5 clicks, I brought this back to my town, my people, my same people that I feel have made my family torture, oppression, death their business plan. And I did it on several routes. And this is just a short video. I brought it back in several different ways, going to Washington, D.C., P.O. Box, and also other ways, seeing the same names that I'm seeing repeatedly. This needs to end. These people, no one has a right to destroy, torture our lives for money. Here it is, over and over again. Cyber torture. So, that's the gist of it. Another investigation that came back to my group, 10 clicks. Multiple routes came back to my same group of people doing an investigation of a woman that was killed in Connecticut. This was a post that John Flynn did, and the names sound familiar. I did an investigation back here. Here's here's a neighbor coming in on the weaponized thing. He ties back to my childhood and also a business owner. Here, Dearborn, Michigan's been in the news a lot for the fact of all the immigrants there. I had this Somali or Syrian family beaconing in off of this infrasound detector, and they own a global financial investment service. This is money laundering scheme, this whole targeting, oppression, death, it needs to end. More fraudulent medical bills. Look at the size of this stack of medical bills I have. So, this went on an hour, and I just wanted to document some of the stuff that you might not see. So here I am on the lake. Here I am. You can see this blob on the Wiggle map. These guys were sitting just right behind me in this boat, and you can see the beacons. They're there hooking up to my non-consensual body area network. It's modern day human trafficking. Modern day slavery, it's geo-slavery, it's metaverse crimes, it's societal collapse, it's backyard terrorism, it's domestic terrorism, it's cyber torture, targeted individuals, it's those are some of biohacking. This is what's happening in the United States of America. We don't consent. And it needs to stop. Look at that. They were really going to town on my back there. All right. It's, again, 10/11/2025. That's 2 hours behind. So it's just about noon in Duluth, Minnesota. Cyber torture. It's identity theft, exploitation, fraud, non-constitutional authorization for human research, experimentation, and torture. And the creation of biodigital convergence. This is huge. I'll end by saying, if you can go to Alex Jones, the episode, he had Jesse Beltran, who's one of only 2 people in the United States that is doing scans to see if you have been non-consensually implanted, detecting the devices and the radio frequency, and to see who owns those radio frequencies. And there it is. Here it is. Alex Jones tested for implantable microchips. And, they are finding that, especially people that had the COVID vaccine, they're actually emitting, Bluetooth devices, and it's a self-assembling nanotechnology. And targeted people are just the test subjects for this. John Flynn, he's been doing, he's a hero, nonstop. I'm not very good at this. I'm losing my words. That's why I don't do videos. I'm not very good at this, unlike people like, Lorraine on Alternative Homestead. She's wonderful. But, I'm doing the best I can. I'm fighting for humanity. I'm fighting for my family. I'm fighting for your family. So thank you for listening. No, I'll close up by, actually, here's my This is my grandchildren. My grandson made that a long time ago. That makes you really wonder, right? And he's on the OFAC watch list. And my granddaughter just did this for an art project. It's a hand. She had to do a hand, and she wasn't done, she said, so pretty proud of that. I think that post was based on, I guess I had gotten hit with that direct energy weapon, and the documenting the direct energy weapon hit to my arm, and noting that 2 schools intruding my infrasound detection, and it was the Creole, South Africa, and the Riverdale, New York, non-consensually biohacking myself, and the fact that I can find people involved in this. My teachers, I had an art teacher draw me both in elementary school, and I think this was 7th grade, and his name repeatedly kept coming up in this. I have found a plethora of my school, elementary school teachers involved in my, I call it social mapping. So when one of these beacons comes into my environment and I can trace the person, then in my investigation, I call it social mapping. I see who they're related to. I'm finding a huge amount of, the pieces of the puzzle with people's email addresses and employment and shared phone numbers and shared P.O. boxes. You're finding your best friends are sharing P.O. boxes with career NSA employees who did remote heterodyne sensing, and just wild stuff that just shouldn't be. And I went to 7th grade, which was odd anyway. They diverted a group of us to the University of Wisconsin Superior wing for my 7th grade, and this is who was on campus when I was in 7th grade. And there's a connection, and of course he went on to be governor, and he went on to be governor, and they were buddies, and I was front and center when he came to my town in 86. And there's more to that story. And I think that it's all related. And plus then I found over 100,000 financial LEI financial transactions in our social security numbers, and one of them was the school district of St. Cloud, which is about 2 hours west of me, and here's another Sartell school district. Here's a bunch of universities that were in my Wireshark data packet captures. And so this post was basically about the fact that schools participating in cyber torture. Here's drones again, drone abuse. It's semiconductor abuse, drone abuse, modern day human trafficking, modern day slavery, cyber torture. All right, this got long. Thank you for listening. I know I might not be the easiest to follow, but I'm just doing my best. I'm just, an average American mom trying to fight for my family's life. Okay, thank you. Over and out. Have a good day.